The State House overwhelmingly approved a bill today that would allow you to carry a pistol while you're out bow hunting. Right now, you need a concealed weapon license to carry a pistol while bow hunting. Now, this bill would open that ability up to anyone. Supporters say this would give bow hunters added protection from wildlife while they're hunting. Right now, they have to rely on deterrents like bear spray. A bow hunter would not be allowed to use the pistol to hunt or finish off injured deer. The Department of Natural Resources and Michigan United Conservation Clubs both expressed support for the bill. Nobody spoke out against it at the Capitol. The bill now goes to the state Senate.